Hello podcast family, my name is Duncan Masiwa and welcome to our Farmer Mentor series brought to you by Farmers Inside Track. Now in this episode, we sit down with Karabo Mahlaba, the co-owner of Mahlaba Eagles Farming in Reitz, Free State. Now their 300-hectare farm, founded in 2012 by Karabo's grandfather Samson, is called Hoekieplaas. There, they cultivate grain and soybeans on a commercial scale. They also have cattle, which are sold on auction markets or to abattoirs. Now in this episode, we learn about their decision-making processes and crop rotation schedule. Karabo also shares insights into their nutritional management and marketing strategies. And if you stick around, you'll also get a glimpse into their financial planning and budgeting processes for the farm. Karabo, welcome, and it's definitely nice chatting with you again.
Thanks for having me, Duncan.
It's a huge honor and a huge pleasure. I think, we were introduced to you briefly a few years back when Food from Zanzi did a TV show in which your father was featured. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Yes, I do. Around 2020.
I remember. Yeah. I remember also that you were the shy guy on the screen in front of the camera.
Yeah, I still am, by the way.
That's one thing about you, right? I've noticed, because you and I have been in each other's company a few times at agricultural events. And there's definitely this sense of shyness about you. But when one starts talking to you and you hear the amazing work that you do on the scale that you do, you often think, is this the same guy?
Yeah, I'm trying to overcome that.
Mahlaba Eagles Farming, I know that it all started with your father. Maybe take us back to all those years back. How exactly did Mahlaba Eagles Farming start out?
Before Mahlaba Eagle even started, my father was a farm worker. He worked at a farm for over 50 years while still trying to apply to lease the government land. The Department of Agriculture has a program where we can use a portion of land. We basically started applying for land even way before his retirement without success. But eventually in 2012, his application was approved. And that's actually when we acquired the land where we are currently farming in Reitz. It was through the same program of the Department of Agriculture. He has a good relationship with his previous employer. He's been under his mentorship from when he started, because we didn't really have much in terms of machinery to work the lands, but we had his mentorship, his guidance. But at that time, I wasn't permanently at the farm. I was still in high school myself. My brother and I were still in high school. It was just my father and my older brother. We carried on with the production for those years. Just about 5 years later, that's when I actually joined the farm. Right after I graduated, I didn't come straight to the farm. I worked at a farmer development for 3-4 years where I actually learned a bit of management. I did have a bit of technical knowledge, technical skills, because I would always go to work with my father on weekends, school holidays. So I basically knew what is what. I kind of knew my way around the farm, operating the machines, but I lacked the management skills also. You have to balance between the technical skills and the management. So in 2019, after I graduated, because by the way, I studied agricultural management from 2016 to 2019, which was all inspired by him, of course. In 2019, I worked at the farm in farmer development. I learned a lot. I had a good mentor, Ronnie. I'm sure many people in the Free State know him. The guy's been in the industry for the longest time, since I was a kid. Just in 2022, I joined the farm permanently and actually started trading as Mahlaba Eagles. My father's been trading kind of like sole prop all along, but we were just in the background. But when we started in 2022, basically in 2019, we're just getting closer to him, closer to the farm. And that's when we started trading with Mahlaba Eagles. It's my father, myself, and my 2 brothers.
It's clear to me that farming has always been an industry that you have taken interest in. I also know that you are a twin. Is he quite active on the farm, or has he sort of, went in a different direction?
When we started, he wasn't really because he's an IT guy. He used to live in Gauteng for some years, but he eventually came back and joined us. He's now almost full-time with us, been with us for 2 years now. He's showing quite a lot of interest.
You definitely need to tell him that I am waiting to meet him, because I've known you for a couple of years and I've never met this twin brother of yours. So hopefully the next time that I see you in Free State, he's also going to be there.
That's what I always tell him whenever I meet him. Say, hey man, thank you, wants to meet you, but you're always somewhere.
Let's talk about your crops, maize and soybeans. That's the selection that you guys have went with. Maybe you can start off by explaining to us why specifically maize and soybeans. And how do you go about deciding how much hectares do you dedicate to maize versus how much hectares do you dedicate to soybeans?
As we've mentioned, Duncan, our main crops are maize and soybean. Now, what we did, the first season, we planted maize the first year when we started out, all maize. The second year we did soybeans. Now, the following year, what we did is we split the hectares equally between the two crops. Because the reason we actually rotate with maize and soybean is because maize has high demand in terms of there's high nitrogen demand. Now, soybean is categorized as legume. What they do is they have the nitrogen fixing bacteria on their root nodules. We cannot do it for actually several soil health reasons. And one of them also being the disease and pest management. The rotation helps break the pest and disease cycles. It reduces the buildup. And one of the important reasons also is the nitrogen fixing ability. Because, for example, let's say we planted 50 hectares of maize this year and 50 on land 1, and then 50 hectares of soybean on land 2. In the following year, we're going to do vice versa. We're going to be 50 hectares of soybean on land 1, which was previously maize. I'm not sure if you're following.
It's sort of a crop rotation strategy that you've implemented.
Yeah, that's the crop rotation strategy that we've implemented. Because we've actually seen the benefit. You're able to maximize yield, improve the overall sustainability of the soil.
And then tell me about your markets that you have in place for your maize and your soybeans. How did you go about establishing those markets? I suppose the more important question is, how are you able to ensure that you consistently supply that market at the scale that you do, or hopefully at a higher scale every year with every season?
The VKB, the co-op.
Yes.
Been in partnership with them. We sell our grains to the co-op for immediate delivery at the suffix price. This season was not a very good season, but on a good year, you are able to hedge the prices. Since our market is VKB, we're able to go to the VKB and say, we're expecting 500 tons of maize and the price is currently good because no one is harvesting. Maybe it's early January, February, March, and usually high demand grains during that time because no one is harvesting yet. And we'll go to VKB and say, we're expecting about 500 tons of maize and we've seen today's prices or this week's prices. Would like to fix 400 of those tons at the current suffix price. That's how you secure your market and you secure also the best price at the same time. And we cannot do this every year, but it was different this season. We just sold at daily suffix prices because we had drought this year. It was very hard to estimate or to predict. So we just sold whatever that we had. The yields were very low, so we couldn't really commit ourselves to hedging.
I remember, yes, that, you had told me early in the year that this season brought some challenges which made it hard for you to predict what you possibly would be able to harvest end of the season. Tell me, when it comes to the strategies that you've put in place, looking at your crops, right, your maize and your soybeans, how have those strategies changed over the years, taking it as far back as from when your father started in 2012? How things were done that time versus how you guys are doing things now?
A lot has changed actually since then. We try to invest in technology as much as possible, but you they're very expensive. Precision farming is very expensive at the beginning. It's very expensive because you have to procure equipment, that data collection activities, they're very time consuming and expensive. But our strategy to invest in technology or embrace the modern agricultural technologies such as the precision farming, the GPS guided machinery, because unlike previously, you want to maximize yields while minimizing the cost. And we're also looking into diversifying our crops, try and spread the risk, because commodity prices are just fluctuating, and at some point you have to stabilize your income streams. You have to try to stabilize your income streams. We've recently secured another piece of land where we're going to try out, maybe we can do a different crop. We're thinking maybe we're going to try and plant sunflower on the new land, depending on because you have to do your soil corrections properly, see what the conditions, then what are the conditions of the new land. But we're actually looking into diversifying as well.
That's fantastic. I always say, farmers are making money when they have the leisure to explore other crops.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think it's amazing that you have been able to, along with your brothers, of course, have been able to grow this farm from where it was in 2012, improve the strategies, improve your methods, and get it to the scale where you are now. And now being able to have a conversation with me that says we're actually looking into branching out with sunflowers as well on a new stretch of land. That's amazing, my brother. So definitely congratulations.
Well, yes, thank you, brother.
Let's talk about livestock, because you also have livestock on the farm. Boervelder, I believe you said. When did that become a part of the strategy?
We've always had cattle, actually. We just started out with not a lot, because when we moved from the farm, because we used to stay where my father worked. We didn't really have good quality genes, They were not as good, but due to his relationship with the employer that I mentioned, he's farming with Boervelder himself. Now, what we did is he gave us one of his bulls. We used to rent or hire a bull from him. Well, what we actually did from the beginning is we cleaned out our head. We sold out all the bad cattle, all the cows, the genes that you don't want. It's beef cattle, but you find black and white cattle, that sort of stuff. We just cleaned out our head to say, okay, let's see how many cattle that we have that we can actually start breeding with a bull with good quality genes. And it was only just a handful, But we grew from that, where we introduced new genes to our head, and gradually we have now enough head of good genes.
And I suppose the fact that your cattle, they are grass-fed, I believe you said, it can't be easy, especially farming in Reitz in the Free State. How do you manage the nutritional needs of your cattle throughout the year?
We look at the growth rates of our cattle, and we choose animals that grow well without the need for high energy supplements. We check the body conformation. Our animals have good body structures that are suitable for the grass-fed systems. We'll also check the feed efficiency. That ability for an animal to convert grass into meat. Our animals, fortunately, they do that efficiently, and that minimizes the need for supplement feed. We only do supplements in winter because, extra calories are needed in winter. And then we supplement with the proteins because the quality of forage decreases in winter. It's dry. It's a different story than summer.
So with regards to your cattle, what markets do you have in place for that? Is it for auction, or what exactly is your market for your cattle?
Yes, our market, we sell our livestock, the commercial livestock auctions, where sales are typically conducted on a per head basis. The Free Central, for example, the BKB, sometimes also at the abattoir. Just depends on the prices. Sometimes the abattoir offers a better price than the auction, and then we just take a decision between the two.
Between auctions and abattoirs.
Yes, between auctions and the abattoir. Because with the auctions, they actually usually can get paid the live weight of your animal, and with the abattoir, it's different, the carcass weight. They slaughter the animal, weigh the animal, and then talk the price.
This sort of brings me to my next question. I can't imagine that it is easy managing a business that is so diverse. You've got the crops, the maize, the soybeans on the one side. You've also got then your livestock, and being able to manage that financially can't be easy. How do you approach financial planning and budgeting when it comes to the farming business? Because that can be quite important.
What we do is we set out some sort of goals and objectives and try to define our short and long-term goals for the farm enterprise, the target, or even expansion, the possibilities of expansion. I think I've already mentioned that we're looking to expand on additional land. When we're doing our budgeting and planning, we project our revenue based on things like, anticipated crop yields, livestock sales. And I think what's also important is you have to have professional people. We get professional financial advice from the accountant when we do the budgeting and planning, because what we do is, we master the technical work at the farm, the management, but we have to outsource someone who's, the best in finances, but we provide with the farm data to say, in the next season, here's our goals for the next season. Here's our goal for the next 3 years. Now let's do the budgeting and planning based on this data that we've collected, and we just provide the data to the advisor.
Karabo, this is so important that you are saying, and I'm happy that we're having the conversation, when it comes to outsourcing help, especially when it comes to finances of the farming enterprises, the budgeting, the planning, because, a lot of farmers, they look up to guys like you, considering the scale that you operate on and what you're able to achieve, but not taking into consideration that you can't do it alone, I suppose.
That's very true, Duncan. We are trying, you have to consider this, it's farming, but you have to consider this a proper business. Outsource how in the areas where you don't specialize, like finances, like budgeting and planning. Strategies as a farmer, you can strategize. It's 4 of us. We all come, we all sit at the table. We say, what's the plan for next season? Yeah. And then we discuss on growth, expansion, profits.
It's definitely very important. And on that note, what advice would you give to a farmer that is looking to enter the grain industry? What advice do you have to that farmer listening now?
Start with research. It's important to gather as much knowledge as you can. Thoroughly research the industry, including the market trend, the consumer preferences, even the farming techniques. It's very important because we've discussed something like, I think along our discussions we discussed something regarding how do we manage, or one of our strategies to manage the cattle. It's very different seasons. You have to manage your farm differently according to the season. As I mentioned, in winter we do supplementation, and summer we have to ensure things like we have clean, fresh water all the time, because you are at the risk of your animals are actually at the risk of dehydration because it's very hot. You have to provide nutrients because they need a lot of energy during cold weather. So you have to do your research. If you want to go into the industry, do your research. What do you want to farm with? Do you want to do grains? Which grains? And we've discussed things like crop rotations. If you want to do sunflower, how will your crop rotation system works? There are a lot of crops. Do a thorough research on the crops that you want to specialize in.
Most definitely. Thank you so much, Karabo, for your time to share with us some of the strategies and the practices that you've implemented on your farm over the past few years. Listening to your story, one can clearly hear the successes that you've seen over the years. But if I had to ask you this question, what has been the biggest mistake that you've made on the farm that might have led some significant losses on the farm?
The biggest mistake that I will never forget, Duncan, was, I don't remember which year was that, but what I did was, just after your plants have emerged and you realize that, okay, I have a good germination and okay, let me insure my plants. You actually even ensure, you do the preliminary insurance before germination to ensure that should you have any damage on the crops, you're covered. I just took some records to say, okay, for the past 5 years, I haven't had hail or fire or anything. Isn't this just a waste of money? This crop insurance. Whoa, let me take a chance this year. And I was cleaned out. It was a Friday. I arranged for the combine harvester to come and harvest on Monday. And on Saturday, we had hay on Saturday. Yes. That was the biggest mistake I've ever made. We had hay and it cleaned everything. Yeah, it cleaned everything. I only had soybeans that year. Everything was on the floor. Everything was on the ground.
I don't know about you, but I definitely would have been crying. That's a massive loss.
It was a massive loss. To think that you can even say, okay, no, it's fine. Let me just pick up my phone and call the insurance guys to say, hey, I had hail. Like, you literally have nowhere to go.
Sure.
You have to deal with it. Yeah, we took some time to recover from that.
We recovered from that.
Yeah, I'm never making that mistake again. And I always tell people, take crop insurance. It's very important. As soon as you plant it, do crop insurance. Don't take any chance. That's part of the risk mitigation strategies.
Wow, what a farmer. Thank you, Karabo, for offering such valuable insights into the commercial cultivation of grain and soya beans and the meticulous decision-making processes behind the success of your farming business. Join us again next time when we meet another seasoned steward of the earth, ready to guide the next generation of farmers. Don't miss out on the exclusive article covering this episode. Make sure that you visit www.foodformzansi.co.za to be the first to read it. To our amazing audience of farmers and agriculture enthusiasts, thank you for joining us. And remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. From me, Duncan Masiwa, our technical producer, Megan van der Vent, and the rest of #Team Food for Mzansi, as always, thanks for listening.